autobiography that I have read. This autobiography was written by, this autobiography was written by an actress. I don't know if you have heard Sound of Music.
Yeah.
Of course, right? In that, Portia Nelson was her name, and she played the role of a nurse who hides the battery of the car of the SS officer. She hides it in her habit, and then her name is Portia Nelson. It is her autobiography, and shortest autobiography with 5 chapters, and we are going to read that now. Autobiography in 5 short chapters by Portia Nelson. First chapter. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I'm lost. I feel helpless. But it isn't my fault. There was a deep pothole. I didn't say I fell in. It isn't my fault. And it takes me forever to find a way out. Chapter 2, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. But I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. And it still takes a long time to get out. Third chapter. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see the hole. I see the pothole. But I still fall in. Oh, it has become a habit for me. My eyes are open. I know where I am. Maybe it is my fault. And I get out immediately. Chapter 4, I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk, and I walk around it. Chapter 5, I walk down another street. You know why I chose this autobiography? Because it's all our autobiographies, right? Everybody's. Isn't this what we do? And especially let's connect the story to our relationships. And maybe we can just discuss what is the pothole. Everything is symbolic, right? We'll connect that to the, yes? Hmm?
A bad habit.
Oh, yes, a bad habit. Mm-hmm. What is your pothole? Distractions, okay. Ego, all of it, yes.
Stress.
Stress. Stress, absolutely.
Guilt.
Guilt. Yes. And trying to connect to IPR. That difficult colleague that we have could be that pothole, right? And we keep thinking about him the same way, or our own loved one under certain circumstances, the same thing gets repeated again and again and again. It is like pushing emotional buttons. Our loved one will say something, and then what happens? Many of this. But the neatest thing is that self-awareness, just saying, maybe it is my fault. That is enough to come out of it. But maybe it's my fault is that self-awareness. This is where our self-awareness, especially if we are trying to improve our relationships, each one of us, self-awareness has to be heightened rather than the other person telling us, there you go again. Like that story? Okay. All right. We'll watch a video, the first half hour, either activity, story, video, and whatnot, and then we will try and discuss in a different way. Again, let me set the pace here, the scene. This is Alice in Wonderland. And we all know the fairy tale, Alice in Wonderland. This is where Alice, she falls into that rabbit hole. And let's see what happens to Alice when she's down the rabbit hole. She has fallen down the rabbit hole, and see what she says. Can we hear the... Which way I ought to go? Oh, better.
Was really exciting. And hell in the way. Session.
No. Thank you, but I just wanted to ask you which way I have to go.
That depends on plan. You want to get to?
Well, it really doesn't matter. As long as I
It really doesn't matter which way you go.
See, she says, oh, it really doesn't matter where I go. It really doesn't matter which way you go. Especially with our interpersonal relationships, this is what it is, whether we know it or not. Because we have certain expectation, vague expectations, of course. We are trying to go beyond that, but still, to make a case, we have vague expectations, so we also get vague results. We need to expect the relationship should be better, not for somebody else to change. We want a broader expectation that involves everybody, right? So we need to know how any of the relationships should go on, should move. Otherwise, it's like Alice saying that, I don't know where I need to go, then we can go anywhere. Just like that. If you just say, oh, I want it to be just happy. All relationships, we say we have to be happy, but that is very vague. We need to be kind of specific. That specificity is extremely important in goal setting, and especially with respect to interpersonal relationships. So keep this in the back of your mind. And then so go through the rest of the whatever 2 hours that we have, so that you will be able to.
You are expecting us to produce 1,000.
Well, I know it has to be meaningful and purposeful, and also goal that is reachable. So how do we do that? So we have a simple formula, a very simple formula to improve our relationships. What is that? We will see. Formula for improving our relationship. Very simple. We have to know what is that A, what is A, what is B, and what is C. If we have A plus B plus C is evolving in our relationships. Let us see what each one is, okay? Formula one, A. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at will change. This is one of my favorite phrases. There is no talk that goes usually without me using this phrase. Initially, Max Planck and also many others have said this, different versions. More recently, Wayne Dyer also mentions this all the time. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Just a brief connect for Rakesh, because you said you're looking for that confluence of science and spirituality. Whole of spirituality and spiritual life is just this phrase. If we change the way we are looking at ourselves, we're not just this body, we're not just this mind, not this body, mind, sense, organ complex, but something else deeper. Just that is enough. Not even doing anything else, but changing the way we are looking at it, making a paradigm shift is enough. And all of spiritual life, if we have to pick one thing to say, this is all we need for spiritual life. So with respect to interpersonal relationships, what does that mean? We go through the relationship, we survive through that, and we try to adjust, keep adjusting with the colleagues or with our loved ones in many situations, or we try to change either others or ourselves. Keep on adjusting and adapting. How do we change that? If we can try and change that rather than just adjusting with others, it is possible to evolve through that relationship. The most difficult colleague or our own loved ones, that difficult age in a kids' time, pre-teens and teens and young adults, we know how tough it is, that stage. How do we not just adjust with that kid, but we can actually evolve through that? That is what we're going to see what it is. Which means, again, here, still we are in formula A part of the formula. We need to understand ourselves. We need to understand this mind of ours and change our mind, change our behavior, but not somebody else's behavior. Especially with respect to interpersonal relationships with our loved ones, we always expect the other person to change. I'll help you whichever way you want, but you change the way I would like it to be. That is usually how it is. But instead of that, can we make a paradigm shift and say, we need to understand ourselves, our own mind, our own behavior, so that we can change our behavior, not expecting somebody else to change. This is, again, connecting science and spirituality, figuring out the solution from within. There is nothing wrong in figuring out or looking for solutions outside. That's the easiest. But ultimately, we know many of the solutions we will never be able to see outside or with others. That means we have the solution already. That is what Swamiji says. We already have that solution. We are already perfect. We are all divine beings. We need to manifest that. So we need to figure out that solution from within. Not
Our power is
absolutely correct. You'll see that after a few slides. So that is A part of the formula. The B part, what you have in your guest room, the serenity prayer. So nothing but the serenity prayer. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. One of the most scientific and practical prayer that you can think of. And if you start implementing this prayer every day, every moment, that will solve everything, if you ask me. So going further in that B part of the formula, if we have to change whatever that it is possible for us to change, what do we need? We need both strength and the courage to evolve. What type of strength? All types of strength. But let us go further and see what. I like this quote again a lot. It's one of the Chinese philosophers who said this: being deeply loved by someone gives you the strength. And loving deeply somebody else or someone will give you the courage to change. Very profound, very profound. Deeply loved by someone gives us the strength, while loving someone deeply gives us the courage. And again, combining science and spirituality, if we can start off with our own guru, how? If we can take our love to our guru to the highest, that is where you will get the courage to do anything and everything, not just faith. We will get the courage. And we know how our guru loves us unconditionally. That's why the keeps saying ahaituka priti. Ahaituka means unconditional love. That's what a definition of a guru is, that, you know. So we have both. I'm sure some of you are initiated devotees here. If you just think about that, what else do we need? From that, we can take and then try and implement that with others in the family, outside, anywhere. And we have an advantage. Can go to the highest source and then, so one more aspect of this is we need to add something every day to adapt. We need to keep learning. If we have to adjust, if we have to change, if we have to adapt, we need to keep learning different tools and techniques to be able to do that, to adapt. Whereas for us to be evolving, so the whole theme of interpersonal relationships here is not how do we learn to adjust and deal with our loved ones or anybody, but to be evolving, right? But to evolve, we don't need to acquire anything. We need to keep dropping something. We'll see what we're going to be dropping soon. So the third aspect of the formula, C part, is that is when you evolve. That evolution of man, unlike how animals have evolved and the different stages, for humans, it's not a stage to reach. It's actually on a moment to moment basis that we have the capacity and capability to be evolving as better and better human beings. We will see as we go along this whole formula. We're going to go deeper and deeper as we learn more and more of the neuroscience concepts. So again, the simple formula, very easy to remember. A plus B plus C is how we evolve. A is the solution is within us. It's not about changing others. It's changing ourselves, and we need to change ourselves. That solution is within. B is to gain wisdom. We know what is it that we can change and what is it that we cannot change. Even though we know we cannot change others, we keep on trying. We are so optimistic. We keep on trying. If we just are optimistic, it's okay. But that is where we have expectations along with that, that leads to disappointment. So instead of that, we are able to change ourselves, and we have to have that wisdom. What is it that we can change? What is it that we cannot change? Take it as a way, we cannot change others. We have every capacity and capability to change ourselves. That wisdom we need to gain through that serenity prayer. And When we evolve, it's on a moment to moment basis and not a stage to reach. If these three things are honed in for us, we will be able to go through the rest of the talk in a much easier way.
Is it possible to look at this moment to moment? That moment is very small fraction.
Yeah, we'll see what I mean by that, because our evolution is because of our thinking patterns, how we feel, how we think, thoughts, moment to moment, right? Thoughts are so fleeting. We might be down in the dumps, so angry or depressed, but that next moment we can be kind and compassionate. We have the cerebral capacity.
At the end of the day, when something goes down, then
Well, we might forget, but the next moment you can remember. That is what I'm saying. We have the capacity. We have the cerebral capacity, and only humans have the cerebral capacity. That is what is important. And this, I'm saying using the scientific terms, but this is what has been said in Bhagavatam. Brahmavaloka Dhishanam. We have the Dhishati. Only humans have the cerebral capacity. Only humans have the cerebral capability to be able to change like that. The same token, we also have that capacity to go down the dumps and in a fraction of a second. What do we choose? That choice is ours. That we can choose on a moment to moment basis. And that my personal experience and opinion is that it truly makes it a whole lot easier when you have a guru. And my personal experience again and belief and opinion also is, not only will it make it easier when you have a guru, but it also makes it even more joyous.
Maybe like when we understand the power of thought,
Yeah.
probably we'll be able to understand that moment to moment how we change.
You want to say anything more on that power of thought, Swamiji?
Yeah, I think in Greek mythology or Roman mythology, the story comes. I think a king, he had a fight with the neighbor kingdom. 5, 6, or 7 times with all might he went and he tried to fight and he couldn't win over basically. Basically, he got dejected, and that time also very badly. He had lost the war. He got dejected and he came to the forest. He came to the forest and he walked long and probably was very tired. Just there was a den. So went and he sat, just resting. Because there was a good rain also, so to take care of it, he was in the den. Then he was just lying down and then sitting and taking rest. Then he saw a spider. The spider was climbing, and sometimes again it fell. Again it went. A couple of times it kept on trying, it fell, but finally it got succeeded. By seeing that, he got that, what you say, the josh, the enthusiasm. No, I can do it.
Okay.
I can do it. So let me go.
Inspiration.
So this time he went and tried, and it happened that he was able to conquer the king. So one thought it changed his. I think in the even the KFC restaurant's owner, the Colonel Samuel, in his life also it comes. He was about to suicide at the age of 40 plus or 60, nearly 60. He understood what he can do. He can do better, good soup, chicken soup. That one idea flash, he changed the whole thing.
Thoughts are really, really powerful. Might be fleeting, but they're so powerful. And just think about it. Not let's take ourselves out of this. 150 years back, whatever Swamiji and Thakur they have been saying, those thoughts are so powerful even today. This is only 150 years back. Thousands of years back, what all the rishis have said, these are their thoughts, right? What we read as Vedas and Upanishads, they're all their products of their thinking, and they're so powerful even today. That's why Swami Vivekananda says, thoughts are very powerful. Words are secondary. Thoughts travel far. Yes, yes. Extremely powerful. Powerful, both positive and negative way. And how we're going to see that again in a scientific manner. What does that mean? They're so powerful. Negative also, it's very powerful. But what do we choose? That choice is ours. And the term for that is neuroplasticity, which we're going to see what that means. And we usually quote neuroplasticity only for positive examples, but neuroplasticity is also for all the negative examples too. Okay, let's see. So what does that prevent us to be evolving is the question. Some of you know about this. Yes, our ants. These ants are what is preventing us to evolve. Yeah, I have only put a picture of only one particular type of ant, but we know in nature there are many different types of ants, right? Red ants, black ants, termites, fire ants, and whatnot. In a similar manner, probably, you know, by now that's an acronym for ants, which is automatic negative thoughts. They're very much similar to the ants that we see in the nature. Just like in nature, you hardly see a stray ant, very rarely, right? A stray ant. Either you see ants one behind the other near the wall, or when you go out for a picnic, they come in groups. Right? So in a similar manner, our negative thoughts, they hardly come once in a while, or they not just one thought here or one thought there. Once you get a negative thought, it's like a chain reaction. So important. These ants are what is preventing us to evolve. Evolve right now with respect to our interpersonal relationships. So we will see what that means. So the reason we get these ants, it has evolutionary biological significance. We don't need to go into that, but basically these ants are extremely important. The reason that we get that is because we have a bias towards negativity. And it's very important because that is what helps us to survive. That is what I mean by evolutionary biological significance. But just imagine our age-old ancestors, cavemen, right? If they did not remember all the negative things that happened in their lives, which hill can I, or a small mountain or a hill can I jump, or this particular tree, can I jump from this branch down without getting hurt? All of this, if he did not remember all of those negative things that had happened in his life, or which plant I should not be eating because there would be so many poisonous plants too, he would not be alive, right? He's
not a positive.
Huh?
That knowledge or thought of that should not eat this plant because it's poisonous or toxic, or should not jump. So
Very
that's a positive thought or negative?
Absolutely. No, that's a, because I should not is kind of a negative thing. And some of it was true, some of it was not. But if he did not remember those to pass it on to the next generation,
Okay.
he would not be surviving the species. So in other words, that was necessary, that type of negativity, because now we know it's a positive thing. That was a trial and error for him at that time, right? So those negative thoughts or negative thought patterns is what made him survive. For our own survival, it is very important, is what I'm trying to say. But that is what is preventing us to be evolving. So if you go into a little bit deeper into negativity bias, this is because of a bias that we have, which means anything that is negative within us, negative thought, negative memory, negative feeling, negative experience, all of that sticks like Velcro in our mind. Whereas things that are positive, be it may positive thought, positive emotion, positive feeling, positive memory, positive perception, positive mindset, it gets washed off like that non-stick material that we use in a non-stick pan, Teflon. Just like that, it gets washed off. This is by nature. And there is a reason for us to be protected. This is what we have. However, we are using it all for wrong reasons. And that is what is preventing us to be evolving. Once we understand this, that means the brain, our own brains, is hardwired. Hardwired is a technical term for habits, you might say. The brain is hardwired for these biases, negativity biases, any bias for that matter. So we need to know this and to be able to rewire our brains. That is the whole thing about rewiring. If it is naturally the brain is hardwired for these biases, then how do we come out of that? That is, and we need to come out of that. First, we need to know we need to come out of that. And then how do we come out of that? Let's go a little bit deeper next few minutes and see how these ants have an effect in our life. When these ants, from now on, I'm going to refer to automatic negative thoughts as ants, when they go unchecked, unnoticed, that means we are not aware of our own negativity that we have or the biases that we have. Not just negativity, this is not good, that's not good. There are plenty of biases that we have. They're called as cognitive biases. If you think if I'm correct, some 130 or so cognitive biases have been named. And we have so many biases that we are not aware of. That's what I mean. Unchecked and unnoticed, we have plenty of those biases. What happens? First thing is it affects our relationships. They affect our health because the negative thoughts producing negative chemicals, because one of the most important neuroscience concept is that every thought releases a chemical. Every feeling releases a chemical. Positive thoughts releasing chemicals that would help us. Negative thoughts and feelings would release a chemical that will hurt us in the long run. So negative thoughts releasing negative chemicals have an effect on our health. Not only on relationships, on our health, with our work, our entire life gets affected because of the negativity.
And bias is always negative, or bias can be positive.
It can also be positive. That's what we call it as automatic positive thoughts, which are also negative.
It's also negative.
Automatic positive thoughts are negative. Because without thinking, we know, oh, I shouldn't be negative. Right away, without thinking, we say something positive, without meaning, without which is definitely, but inside it's going on. I just say this, that means there is no harmony between our thought, word, and action. That is the negative.
With bias, like when I try to link it to our life world now, I have bias to my religion, somebody has bias to their religion.
Yes.
So that's positive, negative. So
that is also, it's a bias. It is a negative bias. If we understand our religion, and this is, I believe it is so in every religion, but we have diluted. So let us stick to our religion. If we understand our religion properly, we cannot put down any other religion.
Okay.
So going further, the next few minutes are really, really important. If we can get this concept, I think we are done with this. We can even stop here and then go. if we can get this concept, but it's not just intellectual understanding. We need to be able to put this into practice. That is what it is. But first, let us get that intellectual understanding, and we need to accept beyond any doubt. So this slide, what does it say? These unchecked, unnoticed ants, automatic negative thoughts, they make us, our mind acts like a pendulum, even otherwise, acts like a pendulum going back and forth between our past and our future. And when we have too many of these ants, we look at the past with regret. And we look at the future with anxiety and pessimism. And whatever is happening in the present moment is not satisfactory to us. We forget just 2 years back when the first wave of pandemic hit, what we were praying, what we were looking for. We have all of that right now. But are we satisfied? Are we happy? We go back to our old patterns. We were so looking forward to going back to work. Now we say, I wish I could at least work from home for 3 days a week. Or I wish I can be in India and work. This is how the mind works. It's not no value judgment on anybody or anything. This is the way the mind works. This is why we need to understand how this mind works and be able to change ourselves rather than expecting somebody else to change. So when that happens, we can never be in the present moment, here and now, now and here, because the mind keeps going back and forth like a pendulum. But here it is. Look at this. The next few minutes, you should pardon my grammar, because I will not make sense if you look at my English grammar, okay? I say boldly, there is nothing like past, there is nothing like future. You know, that quizzical look. Honestly, I say past and future are only our mental constructs. At the thought level, past exists. At the thought level, future exists. But what I am saying is, at the level of action, at the level of doing, there is only the present moment. Because look at this, when past was happening, when yesterday was happening, whatever we were doing yesterday was today, right? This is where my grammar goes, goes through the roof. When yesterday was happening, it was today. Tomorrow hasn't happened. When tomorrow is going to happen, it will be today. That means when the action part, the doing part, we can only do it in the present moment, not even today, in this moment. So when you look at it this way, look at this, becomes so simple, yet very, very, very difficult, very simple to understand. All it means is we need to take care of only one moment, this moment, the present moment, here and now, now and here. We just need to be taking care of one moment at a time. Why? Because there is no future, right? Yes, I'm not speaking at the level of, no, we should not plan for the future. Absolutely not. Planning is all at the mental level. We need to be planning. Does not mean we cannot learn from the past. We need to be learning. But in terms of doing,
Even doing the planning is a present action. And doing the
yeah,
planning.
that is exactly, absolutely. You got it.
It may be for a period in between the plan.
Absolutely.
But how,
That is because that is doing.
but how to speak there? I mean, even in Gita is also written that be at the present, don't think about past or future. How to speak our mind, like
Yeah.
no, we
You're gonna-
don't think past or future.
We need to be learning from the past, planning for the future, working on all of that. But there are tools and techniques. I'll go over with that as we go along. And not only scientific tools, this is what it says, not just doing, if you look at Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya says, even our mukti, our salvation, our freedom, he says, ihaiva, only here and now, not after we die. That salvation is right now, ihaiva, Sanskrit word for this moment, here and now, now and here. Very profound, very profound. It's very simple to understand, but we need to keep practicing. Once we start practicing, this is the ticket for everything. Once you start practicing to be in the present moment, does not mean we should ignore, that does not mean we should not be attached, none of that. If you keep practicing to be in the present moment and doing things in that present moment, doing the right thing, very important. Even if we don't know how to do things right, it is okay, we can learn. But we need to know to do the right thing each time, every moment. That's where places like this help us to be doing the right thing. Then we can go and practice how to do things right. Which chair is comfortable for me to do meditation? That's all doing things right. But doing the right thing is a place like this, we'll come and learn. Right?
If I link the present to doing the thing right, and if I break my day into some parts, there are sometimes I think I'm doing something, sometimes not doing anything, means I'm only resting, sleeping.
That is
That's
also
the time
doing.
when the future anxiety and pessimism kicks in.
Exactly.
Not doing anything. Start thinking of the other things.
You're doing, you're sleeping, you're resting.
But that is what that mind training is about, to be, how not to be anxious. How, because anxiety, as you rightly said, it's about the future mostly.
Even the regret. That is the
Regret, absolutely.
When you are doing the work during the day,
Absolutely.
I'm involved. I am not thinking of anything else.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. There must be some techniques and tools.
Yes, absolutely.
Spent so many years without those.
Yeah, I know. Not just techniques and tools, even for us to be able to understand mind in the simplistic manner. I always say, wherever I go, this we need to teach young kids so that they won't get into issues with interpersonal relationships like as adults we get into. This is how the mind works. This is what we need to do. Any negative thought that you get, what one has to do, they have to be aware of the negative thoughts. Right? So all we need to do is to practice being in the present moment. We will give the tools and techniques, and it works. Because whatever I'm talking about is all evidence-based research. I'm making it very simple terms without showing the pictures of the brain, all the colored pictures of the brain, how it works and whatnot. That you will only get little bit of information. But when you apply that, how do we apply all of that research in day to day? This is what it is. So whatever I'm speaking, it is all evidence-based research. And anybody is interested can ask. We have, I'll be able to answer how it comes through the scriptural reference. If not, we have Swamiji to guide us. So both scientific evidence, all of this has already been said in our scriptures, but the terminology is different. Here and now, Viveka Chudamani goes, ihaiva. What is that? Any doubts in this? All we have is the present moment. Yes.
I just want to ask you, do you think some people are very calm, natural? But I see, I come from a very big family. So we have like people with 9 children in the family. And I have seen like one of my brother, he's very calm from childhood. Like he's very nice to people and anything happens, he never discomfort. He's always quiet and so, and then I have other brothers who are completely different. Like I used to think maybe everything is coming from the family, it could be the gene or maybe the environment. But I have seen even me and my sister, we are completely opposite. You know, the way she thinks, the way she behaves is completely opposite of me. So I am just thinking, is it like even for me when I am practicing something to calm, or maybe when I am even dealing with my daughter, sometimes I come in here, of course, I learn things and I try to apply it. And sometimes I feel like I am back to zero again. And I have to start from there again. So I am wondering, like, what is it? Is it some people are naturally calm and some people are even in the same family?
Yeah, two-part answer. Yes, some are naturally calm, some are not. But what I'm saying is, it really doesn't matter. We don't need to say, oh, this is because of the genes. Maybe his mixture of genes is like that. He's so calm. There's equally important contribution of the nature. This is typical what we call as nature versus nurture debate. Is it our genetic composition or is it the way we are raised? That debate has been going on at one time in, if I'm correct, maybe 40s or 50s. I said it's all genes. Genetic and genetic makeup is very important. And then later on, they said it's all nature, how you bring up. And now we know it's both. But irrespective of that, for us to be able to change is within our hands. Even if we are born in a family which is completely chaotic, one can still be calm. Or one can be born in a very calm family and still be very, very anxious and whatnot. But we need to be aware of it. And we need to be able to want to change. And it is possible to change. That aspect is very, very important. And how do we change? That's what it is, neuroplasticity. We will go into that. If we can hold on to that, irrespective of what age, it is possible for us to change. In fact, I had given a talk by the title, Can the Brain Change at Any Age? Even for people, even at my age or even older than me, it is possible to change at any age.
Swamiji gives the answer for this in Karma Yoga in the first chapter. Karma gets effect and character. If everything is gene, then like, Jesus' father was a carpenter. There are hundreds of carpenters. Why only Jesus? I mean, if there was this would have been a best carpenter. So
Nice,
it was not so. So it not only it is the, of course it makes some genes. I mean, genetical things it matters no doubt, but more than that, he gives the the underlying argument is our own thoughts and actions. These are the two things he gives an answer. Our own thoughts and actions.
Thoughts and actions are the important. We'll see that scientifically, whatever Swamiji is saying, in a scientific manner, using different terminology, whatever Swamiji has said, now we have evidence for all of that, and the terminology is different. That's all. Even the self-awareness of what I'm talking about, Swamiji uses the word self-conscious activity. That is the word that he uses at that time. And we call that as self-awareness right now. They're both the same. All right. Anytime if you have, you can pose the questions in the chat box. Okay. Yes.
What's the question? Is possible? Is the genesis of thoughts?
$1 million question. Literally, it happens. It's an idea that occurs again and again and again, and we call it a thought. But if I have to give a definition, it's when a thought occurs, there is electrochemical changes that happen in the brain.
It's related to the neuronal part.
Yeah, firing of neurons, the membrane potential changing at the neuronal level, and then but what causes it? Because of the change in potential, we're getting thoughts, or because a thought occurred and this is happening? Chicken and egg.
Just, could I ask this? Has neuroscience found a location or a specific set of chemicals or a specific set of electrical activity that explains why? Because the word that we use, I think, what the average person uses most is I, me, and mine. So has neuroscience found a singularity? Maybe I'm not explaining this very well, but you know what I mean, like a single location in the brain or a single set of chemical activity.
Yeah.
Neurochemical activity.
Not really, but I'll be able to answer this question in a better way because I have been asked by this journal Prabuddha Bharata, which Swami Vivekananda started. One of the Swamijis, their editor of the journal, has asked me to write about the research on consciousness, the neuroscientific aspect. As a matter of fact, as we speak, I'm going deeper into that to know. So when I finish, I haven't started it yet. When I finish writing that article, I'll be able to answer even in a scientific and a better way. But as of now, no, there is no one single spot where we can identify, oh, if you stimulate this spot, then that I-ness, me-ness, not meanness, but me, mine, and I feeling or whatever you might say, it would manifest. We have not looked, it is not possible to right now pinpoint a spot and say this is what is causing this I-ness, what you're asking.
So, one question. See, during meditation, for example, does the frequency of neural firing increase or decrease?
Both different regions of the brain, it happens differently.
Is that the I-ness or all those? Is that explained in philosophy or in spiritual journey? Is the Annamaya Kosha, the 5 layer, is that the consciousness?
No. I think what you're asking is that ego aspect. We know very superficially, if I have to say, that comes from the higher center of the brain, the part of the brain that makes us human. But still, these are all very terms, philosophically speaking.
By saying philosophically speaking means scientifically it has not been ratified or validated.
That's what I'm going to be able to better explain after I do
that.
Yeah, you definitely know, because this whatever the like Surya asked, the 5 sheets,
Yeah.
Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha. I mean, even a lot of philosophers also have discussed on this point. There is no scientifically, we cannot say that there are 5 layers inside our personality or inside the body. So one after another we cross, no. It is called in the Vedanta, the technique, I mean, what you say, the Vedantic technique term, it is called Karya Karana Prakriya. Prakriya is process or a mental thinking. Karya is an effect. Karana is the cause. So holding on to the effect, we are trying to reach the cause. So effect is what here? Either the world or the body. Holding to the body, understanding about our body and world, we are trying to reach the source, the cause. That is what self. So it is only a mental phenomena. So we are trying to understand these 5 layers are called, these are the 5 layers. First, it starts with it as a self, like body as a self. Why? Because generally we are all attached with the body. Though we say that my body, but we behave as I am the body. So that I and minus is the problem. So first they say body is the self and I am the body. And I am the body, I am the mind. When they say I am the prana next, immediately say, so body is not the self, prana is the self. So we go from physical body level to the energy level. Then energy, sometimes I'm feeling so energetic, some feel I feel so dull, and some feel I feel so much I can do this and that. So basically, from energy, then it is good for thoughts level or mental, we say. So that is what Manomaya Kosha. Then again, Vijnanamaya Kosha is nothing but it is intelligence. Again, it is also a thoughts only, of course. So it is goes to thoughts level. Then again, it goes to Anandamaya Kosha is what bliss. But their bliss is, it is like happiness actually. Happiness, a part of bliss mixed with the ignorance. So when we go one layer to another, so from gross we are going to subtle, our thinking is getting refined, and slowly we are negating that I am not the body, I am not the energy, I am not the mind, I am not the thoughts, even I am not the happiness which I derive from the external world, or whichever is included body and mind. Then what I am, when I go there, I mean there will be no one to say what I am. He will.
The word is not doesn't exist.
Yes, doesn't exist. In day-to-day things, whatever we say, I is referred to the mind actually.
Mind, body,
Yeah, body mind complex. Yes. So that is basically like very technically there are different ways of explaining. One is that like the self plus ignorance put together. That is what I. Self plus ignorance put together what it is called Maya. Maya or the body and mind complex, time and space causation. Different scriptures in Advaita, they try to explain this in a different aspects or different perspectives.
Okay. With that, let's move on. Yeah. All it means is our brains are hardwired to escape being in the present moment. We always want to be either in the future or in the past. Even if you understand this itself many a times will help us. Whenever we are not doing anything, the mind automatically goes to the future and causes anxiety, or thinking about the past, or the shouldn't have statements come over. At that time, when you say, oh, this is the reason, because of this is the brain is hardwired to escape in the present moment. All I need to do is to train my brain, train my mind to be in the present moment. Just that self-talk is enough. You try and see and figure next time when that happens, saying that I want to be in the present moment is enough, you will be in the present. Or just saying, I want both my body and mind to be in the present moment, that is enough. Because whenever we are anxious about the future or thinking about the past, body is here, but the mind is elsewhere, right? Different time, different space altogether. So just saying both body and mind, I want to be in this place here. Just that itself is going to be enough for us to bring it back. Starting.
It is not this famous joke, a philosophical joke about this is you are consciously unconscious.
Yeah.
This you think this hardwiring is a universal thing, or it's by geography, genetics?
No, it's universal for
And
humans.
when you say the brain is hardwired, so are we genetically, is it genetically hardwired, or is it hardwired because of a preconditionings or what?
Probably both. Even then, it doesn't matter. Even if it is genetically hardwired, it is possible to change is what we want to hold on to.
Is it due to evolution drive that we have inherently within us?
Yes, that is the reason. which means it's genetic, not the way we think about, oh, this is in the family trait, none of that. In that way, evolutionarily means it's been
Yeah, so
coming
that-
along.
That man has overcome so many struggles to be where we are, so that negative bias is kind of the evolutionary.
No, probably, I understand the hardwired from the sense of, from the perspective of species.
Yeah.
A dog has got a particular way of hardwiring,
Yeah.
and a human being has got a particular type of
Yeah.
hardwiring because of evolution, whatever the reason. So it is nothing of genetics or nothing of family or his personality or not. It is with respect to species.
Of our evolutionary process.
Ask you a quick question here. I was just thinking. When I was a child, but teenager or whatever it is, I was in hostel. So I was going from place A to place B to see and do stuff. There was nothing like an escape from the present moment.
Because you were a child at that time. That is what we
Still-
need to become. That is what, to be childlike. Mind training is all about being childlike, to be able to absorb everything as though you're seeing or experiencing for the very first time. Children are naturally in the present moment. It's adults who make us think about, oh, if you're like this, you won't get to that college. That's why as we keep getting older, all these adages, that we have, senior citizens become childlike, not childish. The deeper meaning is that.
So can I ask you, say if we have to write an exam tomorrow. So I am not going to think about future or past. I'm going to think about my exam and I will study. So when I'm studying, I'm in the present moment. So is it possible that maybe if we like give ourselves purposeful action? Is
Right,
it how-
exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely, that is what it is all about. We have to figure out the meaning of this life, purpose of this life, and to be able to constantly learning something new. I don't mean just in different ways, learning new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling. We'll get to that as we go along, because the whole crux of interpersonal relationship, what are the kinds of feelings that we get? How, on a moment-to-moment basis, how do we change? Not when somebody, our kid gets older and gets a job and well settled, I will feel better. But right now, this is how our mind thinks, right? All of us, yeah.
When we marry, then when he marries, when we have a child.
Exactly.
So,
I like this
They
example.
say all untrained minds work the same way, and all trained minds also work the same way from a neuroscientific perspective. You're going to say something and then we can start.
No, I was just saying, I like this example of exam.
Yeah,
We can take small exams every day,
true.
remain in the present.
Exactly.
Just focus on an exam or some small goals to be done every day.
Maybe being at the present itself can be taken as
As an exam. Without any fear attached. That's a good one. So, coming back, the brain is hardwired to escape being in the present moment. So we need to rewire our brains and train our minds to be in the present moment. So, however, let's go a little bit deeper into the ants and then understand what happens. When these ants, automatic negative thoughts, go unchecked, unnoticed, what happens? These are we say these are the reasons, but they are not actually the reasons, but the excuses that we give. I can't help it. This is the way I am, or this is the way the person is. No, nothing can be done. Oh,
Isn't that what you said at the very beginning? That you interpersonal relationship, I cannot change the other person.
Yeah.
So it has to remain. So I also have to remain like it's a,
Yes.
this is the way I am.
Nice excuse, right? That's what I'm saying. That is the excuse that we give. I can't help it. And my mother used to tell me, you are like your grandfather with so much anger, short-tempered. So I can't help it. I'm born like this and it's in my genes is what we say, right? Oh, I'm only like this because of the pandemic. Otherwise, I was not like this, right? Or we blame it on the circumstances. Otherwise, these are all blaming statements, as we can see. We give them, we think they are the reasons that we are giving, but we're blaming either circumstances or other people or ourselves. But I always say, blaming thoughts, defending thoughts, and judging thoughts. These are the most toxic ants, automatic negative thoughts, very similar to the termites in the ant population in the nature. We know how we treat the termites. The same way, blaming, defending, and judging. They are the worst possible ants. The reason is we will never ever learn from them. We can even wear a t-shirt with 101 excuses why I can't submit my homework, right? But we will never learn from blaming, defending, and judging. And I have just listed a few here. We have plenty more to we either say, or we have given these excuses earlier, and we have plenty more. But what are the consequences of the ants? This is what is important for us to be able to know. What happens when we have these ants that go unchecked and unnoticed without being aware? We keep adjusting to people or which is also very good. I'm not saying it should not. It's of a very high nature, adjusting, adapting, and all of that. But that is what prevents us to evolve. We have to go beyond that, to be able to not just tolerate, but accept. As Swamiji says, it's not about tolerating, but accepting people. So what are the consequences of ants? We cannot be what we want to be. It's not so easy to change ourselves because of many of these ants. And we definitely shun away from responsibilities. And we keep procrastinating. And it's very tough to be proactive. And it's tough to be learning newer things. One way to be learning new things itself is coming out of negativity and to be able to be in the present moment. It's hard to learn new things when there are too many of the ants that go unchecked and unnoticed. We cannot be as empathetic as we would like to be. Sometimes we regret later. Our own children, we lose our cool. And we cannot understand what they're going through. Or our own spouse, we cannot understand what they're going through. So it's hard to be as empathetic as we would like to be. Definitely not as happy as we would like to be. And we are so frustrated, but yet we don't know how to come out of this. The way to look at these ants, automatic negative thoughts, are they're just bad brain habits. Just look at it that way. Don't even read it as, oh, bad brain habits. No, not even that. Oh, it's just a bad brain habit. I should be able to come out of that. And so we have the choice to come out of that negativity. Of course, these are hardwired. It's like pushing emotional buttons. If somebody says one way, this is what we react in a certain way. But we have a choice to come out. That is what we need to know. And to come out of it and to replace, there is no magic pill that we can pop in and then get rid of the negativity. It's only through knowledge can we come out of this negativity. But there's always saving grace, right? As this says, the saving grace is do not believe everything that you hear even though it's in your own mind. Because most important neuroscience concept is that most of these ands are false. You can put them to a test and see.
What's false? Yeah.
Huh?
What do you mean by false?
Those thoughts are not true. For example, test, somebody talked about an exam or a test. While we are studying, we're also, oh my goodness, I don't know how that is going to be. It's going to be tough. If somebody was saying, how do we know that it is? Then we need to question. At best, we'll come up with, I don't know. But this is how the mind works, always thinking about the future and looking in a negative perspective. That is
Future event.
in a negative way, most of the times. That's why, who was that? I forget the author. He says, most of the things that we imagine never happens.
Very true, very true.
But we still obsess about it.
We over imagine.
Yeah. And imagine in a negative way.
Yeah.
Because of the bias. Again, not making any valid judgment. If we accept this, oh, this is what is happening, then we can help ourselves and also help others if possible. Again, coming back, know that simple formula, the three things, the solution is within us. That means we have to change, not others. We need to gain wisdom to know what is it that we can change and what is that we cannot change. And the evolution is on a moment-to-moment basis. Again, quick review. We have to find our own answers from within formula. A part of the formula, B part of the formula. We need to add something every day to adapt, we said, but something must be dropped to evolve. What is that? That is where we're going to get into what do we mean by this statement from a neuroscience perspective? That means we can be neurosculptors. That is when, if we can be neurosculptors, this is where we can drop many things that we have that are not needed. Just an analogy is with the sculptor. We know what sculptors do. They chip away things that are not needed, right? They chip away in a big stone, whatever is not needed. If somebody, a sculptor, is sculpting out Vivekananda, in that big stone, whatever is not Vivekananda, he removes. That means he's removing, he's not adding anything to make a sculpture, right? That is what is being a neurosculptor is all about.
Here, whatever I remove, again comes back. Again, I have to remove. Again comes back.
Well, you have to keep doing it until it doesn't come back. Or even if it comes back, it doesn't hurt you or harm you. A spiritual angle to that is, we call that as Dagdha Bija Vasthare. Any seed will germinate, right? If the seed is dried out, it will never germinate. In a similar manner, a negative thought. But if we learn how to forgive, because this negative thought, that person, he said this to me, I was so correct and he misunderstood me. This is that haunting thought that comes in. That person is our loved one, a brother or father, but that keeps coming back, right? But there is a scientific way we learn to forgive. That's again one of the flagship workshops that we have come up, Swamiji in Yogakshema, in a scientific way, how to forgive, not from a moralistic approach, not from a faith-based approach, but from a scientific approach. When we do that, you still remember that thought. But if we have forgiven properly, that thought will not hurt us. And after a while, it won't come. It should not. Until then, we have to be doing. Don't take it, oh my goodness, how long does it take? It keeps coming back. Rather than that, we get so many opportunities to be able to forgive, to be able to heal ourselves in that relationship.
That's a good way of looking at it.
First, formula A, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Until now, it would think it's coming back again and again and again. I thought I had forgiven, it is coming back. Rather than that, oh, I have to forgive one more time, another time, until the effect goes away. Because we have made a shift. I'm given so many opportunities to heal that relationship is how we need to look. And then we will start looking for opportunities to be able to come out. Initially, we will avoid that person, and then we look forward to meeting that person, seeing how am I doing? How have I forgiven this person? So you put yourself in that position and test and be.
When you say forgive, and you say you change the way you look at things, so then you change the circumstance. Do you say that actual forgiveness action isn't like putting yourself in their shoes so that you can understand where they're coming from? Is that, how do you do?
That is the initial stage. Sometimes we will never be able to put ourselves in their shoes if we have not gone through certain things, if we do not have all the facts and figures. If we don't even have to do that in a that's like a whole day workshop. So to put it in a capsule form, we need to forgive not for somebody else's sake, but we need to forgive for ourselves. So it really doesn't matter, not even to be able to understand. Sometimes it is impossible to understand, to put ourselves in their shoes. But we need to do that to be more peaceful, to be happier, to have a better future, is why we need to forgive. I know that is one way of doing it, putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, but I can tell you, at times there are situations and circumstances it's impossible for us to put. You just have to imagine.
That's much better, it's much quicker.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because we are doing this for ourselves, not for the other person. And it doesn't matter whose fault it is. We don't even have to prove whose fault it is, who is right, who is wrong. No need even to go there. That is the relationship credo we're going to see. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? That does not mean we can do wrong things and be happy. Many a times in interpersonal relationships, we get into a situation we want to prove we are right. And that is when the happiness goes through the window. Oh, is there? Okay. Oh, Mark Twain said that. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Vatsala. She's a just now retired English professor. So we can take that. The one I was quoting, most of the things never happen, whatever we imagine. So coming back.
Is it not something to do with like the forgiveness thing? Is it not something in a way to do with unity? You know, that if you don't, you know, if you won't forgive somebody, you'll always be disunited from them. Maybe I'm not using English that's very good.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You're separating yourself from that forever. So that
Right.
means that you're always going to be in disharmony And
Absolutely.
it's going to undermine your own peace.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter whether they are right or wrong. You
Yeah.
know, if you have that reaction, you undermine, you'll be cutting the feet off your own peace.
Which
Peace of
is,
mind.
yeah, one more credo is that I was gonna end with that, but there is so much interaction. I'm gonna put this in at the right time so it goes in even deeper. Just like I said, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? That is one of the relationship credo. Like that, there is one more relationship credo, which is, do you want to be kind or do you want to be right? Says always choose to be kind. You don't need to prove ourselves that we are right. Be kind. Again, that reminds me of what Dalai Lama said about kindness. He said, my religion is kindness. And he says, it's possible to be kind each time and every time.
I think Holy Mother said something that.
Absolutely.
You know, that, you know, you don't tell a truth harshly, you know, or you don't tell a truth to wound. You don't use truth as a stick to beat somebody, even if you're saying
exactly,
is true.
exactly. There.
So, this, how, if a person is saying a lot of wrong things, so you forgive, okay, well, for my own happiness, we talk again, forget, right, for my own sake. But this
Continues.
Let's train it in a way.
Yeah.
It's going to come back.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be affected. One, okay, my strong force didn't work. Second time didn't work. Third time didn't work. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. But we're going to be deviating into forgiveness. First, we need to understand about the importance of relationships and how we can put this together. Okay. Because that is another topic which will take several hours to be, because that is how deeper we have gone into. We have even tools to learn to forgive. One is a left-brained approach. Going through that exercise, we make people understand and know how to forgive right then and there. And another one is a right-brained approach. We have two approaches to be able to learn to forgive. So that's a totally...
but isn't it the key thing for my relationship? Because if I'm not able to forgive again, then I will never be able to have that relationship. I don't know how strongly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, coming back to becoming or being a neurosculptor. See, for a regular sculptor, he has a stone, marble, or a boulder in front of him, and he has tools, right? Chisel, hammer, and everything. But for us to be neurosculptors, all of that in one, 3 in 1. Our brain is like the boulder or the marble. Right? And then the tools is nothing but our mind. And what we become in the future, because of removing certain things, is us, right? So the marble, the sculpture, and the sculptor, all 3 in 1 for us to be neurosculptors. And before that, what is it that we need to be sculpting out is the key. We will get to that. But before this, I was telling Rakesh, we might get a doubt. Is it possible for us to do whatever she is saying? Is that easy? There you go. Your statement, your favorite statement. Yes, we have that power. We have the cerebral capacity. And we can do anything and everything.
For this, I want to quote one more quotation from.
Please do.
Take up one idea, make that idea your life. Think of it, dream of it, live on that idea. Let your brain, muscles, nerves, every part of your body live on that idea. Leave the alone.
The rest of it alone. That is the way to success. That is the way to happiness. And not just success. Absolutely. So what are the things that we need to drop from our lives? What do we sculpt out? What do we remove? Yes? Any? Okay, I think some of you saw the slide, so I cannot. All right. These are the things that we need to drop away. I have only listed a few. Many, many more you can come up with. All of this.
Any significant size of the font?
Nothing. Just to attract your attention. So all of these are afflictive emotions, or at the thought level, automatic negative thoughts. But we need to be able to recognize, be aware of our own acts, not somebody else telling us, why do you have so much negativity? Before COVID, you were not like this. Right? Instead of that, we need to be able to recognize, acknowledge, and overcome.
It's difficult to recognize.
Oh.
Recognize that I am jealous, or I am having a fear, or is it being recklessness if I don't fear?
I don't think it is difficult, honestly, but we refuse, we resist.
I'm doing that, yes.
Each one of us. That is why all of this is only through knowledge. Again, not putting any value judgment. This is how the mind works, that we need to accept. But if we really need to evolve, if we really need to be better, to accept. That's why they say, when we accept that, oh no, I'm feeling jealous about this person, 50% of the problem is solved. Whether we know it or not, especially in Indian culture, because I've traveled so much, people who are non-Indians, it's easier for them to accept, yes, I'm jealous, I'm envious, and this and that. And then half of it is already, they have, of course, it's still not easy. But the reason for us Indians is because we are taught, even when you are young, you should never think any negative thought or be jealous about your own brother. You should never be greedy. You should never be doing this. These are the should and should not statements. We know this. We say that. But the way the mind works, these are all natural afflictive emotions and thoughts for everybody. Until and unless we admit that, that is where this is not a moralistic approach. This is not a faith-based approach. Once we accept, whether we know it or not, whether we accept it or not, as a scientist, I know it happens for everybody. Science is about commonality and reproducibility. That's why we will know somebody else having such thoughts. But if that person does not admit, they will not be able to come out of that jealousy. I have seen, I don't do one-on-one sessions anymore, but while I was doing, even in India, when people came out and said, now I realize I'm so jealous about my sibling. I'm so jealous about such a person. And then it was a process. They were able to come out. Not like that, I shouldn't say. It's a process. They were able to get it, understand that. They were able to overcome. Some of it is innocuous. It's okay. We can ignore. But many times it's that envy, jealous, fear. We say fear is the mother of all negative emotions. That is why Swamiji says in spiritual life, be fearless. How many times he has said that? In fact, we give that as an affirmation to treat people who are afraid of things. You say, combine Sanskrit and the English word, we say be, English be, abhihi. Abhihi is fearless. And when you keep repeating this, it's an affirmation, which is nothing but a repetition of a cognitive cue. When you keep repeating this, that becomes a rewiring tool for the brain. And then you start believing it. And that one idea, what you talked about, that overtakes us. And then, but it has to be put into action. It's not about being fearless, going bungee jumping. I'm not talking about that level.
Vivekananda, Hyderabad Ramakrishna, but there is a Bhagavad Gita chariot. There in that book is written that total from Bhagavad Gita, one word is, we can say that is fearlessness. We learn from that.
Right.
So these are the Maya.
Huh?
So these are the Maya.
Whatever you want to call Arishad Varga, one term we say, but even in Arishad Varga, they put all of this in 6 categories.
So in clinical category, for people to get away, and people you balance your brain chemicals, they give medicine and all those. Ultimately, this addresses what? Symptoms or whatever you're trying to do in a practice, which makes it effect through a pill.
Yeah. See, even in recent medical research, we know just taking the pill is not enough. It will just correct the imbalance of the chemicals. But our traits, if we still have these things, the chemicals won't change us not being jealous. Such thing will never come, I can assure you. We will never get a medicine that will take away one's jealousy, or we will never identify a gene which will take away jealousy. These are all things that we need to work on ourselves. Effort, Purusha Prayatna is so important.
Are these really unconscious, habitual, like they're just habits?
Yes.
And like the chemical isn't going, unless it changes your memory, it's not going to, those things are going to come up when the cigarette.
Even changing memory won't help, because we will still be acquiring newer ways of doing it, not the old ways. If we have not gone into the why we should do this, all of this, what you're talking about, how?
Yeah, that's what I know.
That why we have to go. Why should I do all of this? There is no need. This is where it reminds me of when Latu Maharaj was Adbhuta, huh? If you want to tell the incident, Swamiji, and then one Westerner comes and asks, why should we do all of this? Why should we believe? Why I can just be doing humanitarian service, that is enough. Why should I believe and go further? Right? And if I don't know if you want to go, yeah. In other words, if you don't go into the why, I'm trying to be good, that is enough. But if we don't understand that there is divinity within us, the ultimate meaning and purpose of life is to manifest this divinity. And that is the reason I have to forgive. That is the reason I need to be kind. I cannot be manifesting divinity by spewing hatredness and being envious about others. If we don't go into the why, we will only be at a superficial doing.
But should ignorance not be on that, like on that list? Is ignorance not in a way the root of all those things?
Yeah, of course. So all that is why I say it's only through knowledge, only through knowledge. That's why I say there is no magic pill that comes that can get rid of the negativity. It's only through knowledge. Knowledge is the antidote for fear. Knowledge is the antidote for ignorance.
Knowledge and then awareness. And knowledge and
awareness, knowledge, it is just interchangeably we say that, but just knowledge is not enough. We have to put that into action.
Yeah.
Knowledge into action.
In Buddha's
Not.
case, what he meant was this,
Hmm.
what I story and understand is like, okay, you are doing a good work, you are doing a humanitarian work.
Huh.
Why? To be good, to help the people, or compassion and all fine. Why? Because to have either have a God relation or self relation. That is the human goal actually. So why I am doing good work? To be good. Why you want to be good? Because it is our nature. Like be good, do good, and see good. That's the whole of religion, right? By that we can manifest our divinity, or we can reach our real nature, or we can reach our ultimate. So that's why we should always, by doing good work or by doing bad work, what affects, what happens, and why should I do or why should I not do? The moment you start asking, then you'll be able to go nearer the truth, of course, put it into practice. But Advaita will study.
So with all of this, how do we bring neuroscience? How will this work? When we become neurosculptors, what happens in the brain? And this is where we've been talking about neuroplasticity, the word I've used. I'll make it quick, make it like a story and then say what has happened in the recent past in neuroscience research. You know, Dalai Lama challenged the Western neuroscientists saying that if you want to change your life, usually what do we do first? If we want to change our life, we go change our wardrobe, we go change our hair color, we change our vehicle, and even spouses we change.
Now we deactivate with. Deactivate with.
Unfriend.
Yeah. In other words, or some kind of changing the mind, right? But he says, if you really want to change your life, you actually have to change your brain itself. Then not just changing mind is enough. The Western neuroscientists gave a critical look. That is not possible. The brain can change only under some pathological conditions, that's all. Because at that time, we just thought after a certain age, it's impossible to change whatever is happening in the brain. But when he posed a question, and he not only did that, also sent many, many Buddhist monks who had meditative experience. Why meditation here? Because when you meditate, you're actually systematically organized way, you're changing your mind, right? In a simplistic term. So these were the monks who had many, many hours of meditative experience, from 5,000 hours up to 30,000 hours of meditative experience. These monks were sent to the West, both Europe and US. And when their brains were scanned, they could see clear-cut differences in the non-meditative control group of people, the brains of the such people and the brains of the meditative monks, which showed clearly that if we change our mind in a particular way, the brain itself changes. Because the monks were put into test, they were scanned using many different technologies like fMRI. What we know is MRI. These are used for research purposes, fMRI technique, and then PET scan or SPECT scan, wherein you can actually see the activity of the brain, how it changes, and different regions, how it changes. So when such studies were done, there were clear-cut changes, which showed again that what is changing mind? That means changing our thoughts, changing our emotions, changing our feelings, changing our mindset, changing our perception, right? If we change our mind in a particular way, in a highly structured, effortful ways, not the way we change our minds, looking at the table with so many choices. Oh no, I don't want to take this cookie, I would rather have that sweet. So not changing mind like that, but in a very effortful, organized, conscious, willful ways, like through meditation or taking up an idea and then working on that, until we know what kind of change that we need. It is possible to change the very structure of the brain. All of this will result in only temporary changes if we change our mind. But changing our mind has to result in change in our experience, changes in our habits, changes in our behavior. Then, only then, long-lasting changes can happen in the brain. Because we keep changing, just meditating also is not going to be enough. All that has to result in our action. Now, if we say, I've been meditating, I have forgiven my mother or my mother-in-law, I have forgiven. If you keep meditating and just say that, that is not enough. You have to figure out ways, meet that person and see how do you feel. Were you able to be okay with that? Or go test it out and then keep doing that until you are not hurt with that relationship. So whatever we try and change, either through meditation or through repeating affirmations or through even with the japa, what we do, if we don't put that into action, coming here, be of service, and then looking for such things, only doing just the japa will not cut it. I'm not saying it won't, it will definitely. But to make long-lasting changes, we need to put all of this into action. Change in our experience, change in our habits, change in our actions. Then, only then, this long-lasting changes will happen in the brain, and that whole process is called neuroplasticity. Yes, I'll first take that question from Juma, and then.
You were mentioning that they did that research between the monks who meditated from so many hours, and between them and those who did not meditate. So the brains were different. What kind of difference did that reflect?
Plenty, literally thousands of papers. I have put it in a way that we can, what we want, we can use so that to implement. I can give you regions of the brain where there was more activity and where is less activity. It's just of academic interest. How will we know? Does that mean that we are going to go get our brain scanned and then see, did that region? But we're going to go in the next few slides how this is going to affect. That is what is important. Not what type of chemicals changed, not what type of waves changed. That is, I take up all of that in different types of talks, not combine that.
Could tell us some behavioral change?
That's what I'm getting into. You had.
My question is really related to a bit of that chemical thing that, but not chemicals. The way I now till now understand neuroscience is, say, today I have a headache, I go to doctor, neurologist, he finds probably there is a tumor or there is some fluid, he takes it out. I get relieved in 7 days time, 3 days time. So my pain's gone. Or say, I am not well, I am depressed, they find out some of the hormones, dopamine, serotonin, all those things, and they give those medicines to me, and those chemical imbalance goes in 4 to 6 weeks time, will feel better. That's where I think neuroscience comes and hits target, I get relief. On the other hand, what this behavior change, right now, it seems to me it's too long term. Like it's when will it come? Like how much I have to do? Is it 3 weeks, 3 years, 30 years? That's, I think that's a piece of doubt in mind, and which I think many of us have, and that helps us develop one of those ants that resist.
Correct. See, to see changes in the waves, in the chemicals, again, there are so many studies that they have done. Even as little as 21 days is enough for certain things. But for that to result in what you're asking about, behavioral change, is a separate issue altogether. When I make this statement, everybody says, oh my God, I want to say, oh really? Change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. That process is until our last breath. Because we are trying to evolve ourselves into better human beings. And that we need to make use of that until I'm alive.
It's a continuous process.
Until we should make it as until our last breath. We don't have to be moving around. There could be a time we can be bedridden, but still be evolving. Yes.
But does neuroscience then align with the CBT of the world?
Oh,
Cognitive behavioral therapy that
Huh.
is really accept. And that seems to be aligning the CBT part of the
yeah. Absolutely.
more than chemicals or
Even when we take the chemicals to help us with that imbalance, again, this is what new research in depression is showing. Just taking antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications are not going to be enough. One needs to do some type of counseling, just so we can track our own thought patterns, our biases, and to be able to overcome.
And that overcoming will be by rewiring.
That is the mechanism of action. The how it happens, that process is called rewiring. But we don't have to know whether we have heard this word rewiring, neuroplasticity, does not matter. If we keep changing our mind so as to change our habit, it will produce positive effects in the positive way. And I'm giving the technical terms for this, that's all. And this is what has been happening for meditators for eons.
also, like for example, in a house, like I have a father who is doing a lot of bossism on this. At least we all see that. It's not one perception. All the family people's perception is doing a little bossism or whatever. So we had a tussle, fight, and so at some point of time, I thought I can't change it. So I can't change it. So what is out of helplessness, I keep quiet.
Yeah.
So maybe it is a temporary piece. Then okay, it is his nature. So I mean, he's also struggling soul or whatever. So with maybe a bit better knowledge or having a compassion towards him, though I accept, then there is no puzzle. But the situation doesn't change.
Absolutely.
Only because I've accepted, there is no reaction from me. But still, situation doesn't change.
Yes.
So then, whatever the IPR we are discussing now, then how does it give a solution?
But the person who has accepted will not suffer this same way like before.
Yeah, but situation continues.
Yeah, situation will continue, but your reaction to the situation will change. We will get into that little bit more tomorrow, because that is where that stress is all about. It is not about the external circumstances, irrespective of how it is, how we react to that.
So that is problem and solution both are subjective.
More than so, it's within.
I am the problem.
But the other person is not changing, the reaction is still the same, is that.
Yeah,
So I am keeping quiet or I am changing my behavior. For how long we can do like that? How long we can keep it like that? Is that affecting our life?
No, until it's you should stop suffering from that. That when we truly understand, the kindness comes, and eventually if there is just complete acceptance with kindness and with unconditional love, that is where there is a higher possibility of the other person changing. That is what the gurus do for us.
The prayer of
We can
serenity
be-
comes from here.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're in that situation, like the practical situation, and it's not good, and you're accepting it and you're, changing the way you look at it, That's just situations of it, but then as you look at it differently, another opportunity will present. You won't stay in the situation.
Correct.
It's not to say stay
Yeah.
in the situation and suffer, it's to say, look at it differently. And then you'd evolve to something else.
You're absolutely right. If it's a toxic environment, that's where we're again going into the forgiveness part of it. Just because we forgive that person, understand that person, does not mean we have to be putting up with that forever, especially if it is toxic situations, when there is abuse. Yeah, certain things you had to look at it in a practical way. But at the same time, I also know when people have truly accepted, understood the situation, it takes a long time. What I'm talking about now, cases wherein a person living with an alcoholic, for example, and over a period of time, yes, it has taken a long time, but that's because one of the partners really believed this is the way, did not want to let go. And then the person was able to change. It all depends on how much
Patience you have.
much more forbearance and and what also, not just the forbearance, what do you believe? If we have not learned completely from that relationship, things repeat again.
What is the ideal way to? What is the ideal way to meditate?
Oh, there are different, especially when it comes to science, it is like choosing. There are various different types of meditation techniques for different things. To increase your concentration, there is one way. To increase your concentration and memory, there is to be more kind, another way. To be forgiving, another way of meditation. That's another topic in itself. It has, I think it's probably also on the YouTube channel. Some of these, what you're talking about, they're probably on the neuroscience of meditation. And even there, the meditation, the definition of meditation, also what we give is so different, that is so amenable for the implementation.
That also
Can
is
we
quite by choice. When we pick up one, we all need concentration, attention,
All of it we
memory. All, so we'll have to do all different types of meditation.
Okay, if we can go further, and then some of it will be answered as we go along. Okay, what are the qualities of? Huh? Okay.
Sorry, Mary has a question.
Yeah.
It's trying.
Oh, sorry,
Oh.
it's okay, yeah.
Okay, so I'll take these two questions and then move on. I have the time, but I don't want you all to feel. Yeah, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah, so but from what you say, I understand that this process will bring peace to us, although the situation won't change. And when I can't reconcile in my mind, when the Tibetans lost their home, the Dalai Lama had to leave and out to India. So he lost his home, he lost everything, practice and culture. So he's still kind, but that hasn't really changed the situation.
Yeah, that is Dalai Lama. But we can even take many examples very close to us. There's a community called Amish community in US. If you just check out their videos, that we can relate to that even more than with Dalai Lama. Yes, it is possible. Whatever we are saying, it is nothing that none of us cannot do. But we have to have a very, very strong why. Otherwise, I can give you as many how to do it. Many tools I can give you. But if your why is not strong enough, it won't help. That's okay. Yes, Mary.
Sorry, so I'm kind of going off saying there about the practice of meditation and the parts of it. So I look for myself like when I meditate, and you're kind of looking at your thoughts and you're looking at everything, and you're looking from a different perspective. So you can kind of, figure things out from, I don't know, is that higher mind or I was just going to ask you, like, is that the pineal gland or what part of the mind is that?
Yeah,
Observing?
usually it is the conscious mind that becomes more active in meditation. So that otherwise we are usually using the automatic habitual mind most of the times, and we're trying to move away from the using the habitual mind to the conscious mind.
So you think that we can actually live from that place?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Uh-huh. Okay, so qualities of enhanced interpersonal relationships. Can you just shout out?
Happiness.
Yes.
Empathy,
Honest.
peace,
Not
trust, forgiveness.
Yes. So many, right?
Tolerance, freedom.
Yes.
No DPJ.
What is DBG?
Depending, bias.
Blaming and judging.
Oh.
DBJ, like PBJ.
But
So,
Communication.
yeah. We've said many. I will list out a few more that you may not have mentioned.
Oh, for acronyms, huh?
And I have given the Sanskrit term for that too: love, preeti, respect, gaurava,
Yes.
kindness, mrudutva, infinite patience. So you're saying
No, infinite.
apara sahane, listening skills, very important. Keluva kaushala, magnanimity, udakta, empathy, anubhuti, assertiveness, khachitate, being authentic, adhikrita, and my favorite is mudita. It means to be happy seeing others happy.
That is amazing.
It's the yardstick.
That tells you something.
Hmm?
There isn't a single word for that in English,
Yeah,
which tells you something about Western mentality.
exactly.
They're happy when others are
Just even if you take one, everything else will fall in place. One idea and everything else will. So we can ask ourselves, am I more compassionate? Am I more peaceful with that relationship? Am I able to accept, able to understand at a deeper level, more kind and more loving? And these are some of them. Right? Coming back to Swami Vivekananda's saying, I'm trying to connect now again. Says, all expansion is life. We have heard this. All contraction is death. All love is expansion and selfishness is contraction. Love is therefore the only law of life. He who loves lives. He who is selfish is dying. So if we understand that and follow, we are on the right track. So all expansion is life. Love is therefore the only law of life. And that is what it means by evolving. This I believe completely because of couple of you talking about the circumstance will remain the same. That will never change no matter how. Yes, that is true. Then again, rather than either judging or blaming the circumstances, we just have to keep going deeper. That all that means is we have not gone deep enough. Even though the circumstances will remain the same, we will never ever suffer. That should be the ultimate litmus test. Not that if I'm changing, the circumstance will change. Again, we are looking at the solution outside. The litmus test is even in that situation. Am I peaceful? Am I kind? Am I able to understand that person? Why he or she is still the same? Why the circumstances are still the same? I can assure you there won't be suffering. All that is left is kindness and understanding. There might be sadness, there might be anger. I'm not saying all of that will go away. But along with that, there will be kindness, there will be understanding. That suffering is because I'm still getting angry. Why? Not because, oh, that is still is happening. That litmus test is, we have, when we understand completely, that is what Swamiji talks about, acceptance, not tolerance. When we truly accept, we will understand why this is happening. Truly, take it from me, we can understand. It does happen.
A quick question. So, take talking about a work situation. You have to have a cordial relationship. There's a person who's, are we towards the end?
No, there's still a few more.
Okay.
No, that's okay. Huh? If
So
you want,
there's a-
if it is haunting you, you should. Otherwise,
Yeah,
we can
because a
finish.
manipulative colleague always gets around to you, and you can leave it. So fine, it's fine. At the end of the day, if you that manipulative person will not only really do harm you also. So is there something in there in this class that we could learn?
Yeah, if we cannot, that is see that relationship, we don't have to be evolving by being in difficult situations. I'm talking about in terms of our loved ones, it's a different thing. If it is something like that, it's so easy. Why bother? Change jobs. It has happened many times for many people. And if it cannot, it's not that easy. If we cannot, then we just have to weigh the pros and cons, and then I'll put up with him. Understand, he cannot change. Again, you will not suffer. You know why you're there. I need that paycheck. I have to put up with this until I find the other job. That clarity will come in understanding. Right? And enjoy the moment, and more than that, evolve this moment, because only this moment is what we have and nothing else, if you really look at it. And only this moment is all we need, actually, and nothing else. Keep doing the right thing each time, every time in that moment. Again, this formula. So what does that all mean now? Some quick tips, right? We'll finish this off and then take the questions. Second. Yeah. All right, what does this all mean? What do we see? A duck, a rabbit, or a rabbit, right? Duck or a rabbit. Many a time, there's no right or wrong in this. In a very similar manner, whatever we are going through in life, it's no right or wrong. It's either my way or your way. But there we get into arguments and tussle, right? My way or your way, that is how we are trained. Can we make it my way and your way? Even better, can we make it our way? We will start thinking. Without our knowledge, we will start thinking, trust me. Because of all of this knowledge. We don't even need any other tool. Knowledge itself is the tool. You have to put it into action. Otherwise, it's only how. Right? And so we will never ask, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why me? Right? So say, why not me? Go further.
Try me.
We will get to that. Try me. That is when we
So
know
many
we evolve.
trials, huh?
Try me. Not even why not me. I'm ready. Try me. We will get that.
Like, I'm a specially chosen person.
I'm the chosen one, no?
To go through, sir.
Jew prayer.
Huh.
Because in the Israel, there's a saying in their mythology or theology that God has chosen, they are specially chosen people. So one Jewish, oh God, you specially chose us, that's why we all suffered. Please choose someone.
A nice one. So there we were only looking at two ways, right? In this we can see so many different ways. Actually 4 people, 5 people, right? And 10, okay. Many ways. So rather than just looking at my way, your way, can we see this is what it is, making a paradigm shift in the way we are looking at the world. We are trained to look at the world from a Newtonian perspective, which is black or white, right or wrong, good or bad, short term, long term. All just duality, right? Can we train ourselves to look at life as though it has many possibilities waiting to happen? This is what Ranganathanandaji calls this is the science of Vedanta. That there are many different possibilities. Just like in this picture. But as we keep doing, trust me, you will see this. Usually we see this after the fact, after the argument, after the incident, whatnot. But as we keep thinking about it too, we will start seeing this as it is happening. Even when we see later, it helps so much. But trust me, as it is happening, we will be able to recognize, but we won't be able to put it into practice because of our ego. But again, all value neutral judgments. This is how the mind works. I want to evolve. So only question that we need to ask under certain situations is, do I want to just survive through this or do I want to evolve? Even there you make a choice, not on an autopilot mode, losing our cool. No, I just want to get over this. I don't want to be evolving. I don't want to take the high road. So be it. But the next time around, try and see, can I turn this around and evolve? Which means all you need to do is to ask this question. Do I want to survive through this situation or do I want to evolve? Each time, every time.
Autopilot mode means instinctive mode.
Yeah, reactive mode, autopilot mode, reactive, because it's pushing emotional buttons and it's the same person. We react in the same way because it's habituated.
Habitual mode.
Yeah, all the same. Different names. That's okay. The next time, be kind to yourselves. And what do we do at that time? Oh, this happened again. I tried. And so we start blaming. Only because if he did not say this, I would have been okay. We keep giving reasons for that. Just accept, okay, I did not. Next time, look for the opportunity to evolve. And then that is what empowers us in a conscious manner. Truly empowers us. Looking at the world view from this quantum perspective view. Many things waiting to happen. Okay. So we did the game this morning, right? Or rather afternoon. What did you make out of that game? What did you learn? It was fun. I know. What more can we?
We want to win the
Give me. Yes, we want to win as a group. Yes. And I tricked you, asked you something that you could not give because that did not exist. Right?
People wanted to give.
Huh?
People wanted to give, so you don't know whether it was they wanted to give because they wanted to win, or because people want to give. You could interpret this different possible interpretations.
Yeah,
the motivation.
that's one. Okay.
Yeah, when we couldn't give, we started giving what the reasoning or like why I gave you the reasoning, like the bank never thought of this before, like making this cousin, you're a no. So it's almost like it's not my fault. But it is the bank thing.
Yes.
Which,
Not my fault. Yes.
yeah, it was my fault that I couldn't give it.
Okay.
It was definitely somebody else. So.
I was expecting you to ask for some chocolates because I had some chocolates.
When we played, we were in the present. We could only give what we had. So we were in the present moment.
You're in the present
Had to
moment.
go or
Yeah.
not to. Fine. But whatever is there in the present is what it is.
We thought that you will ask Sri Ramakrishna, Sharda Mata, Vivekananda photo with us.
He's ahead.
That's too easy. We all have. Anybody else? Anything else?
We see things differently, like all different types of red. Everyone, this is red. No,
Yeah.
this is black book with red.
We negotiated. There is some yellow in the socks. And
We're trying so hard.
yeah.
And also the name of the game was give.
Give,
So
give.
we were,
Give.
bound to.
Yeah.
Give.
That's right.
One message I found was if I change my way of looking at things, then a lot of the problems would be actually not there.
From that game?
Not from that game, but in general.
No, I'm talking about the game right now.
And the overall thing about like in giving, there's a lot of happiness.
Ah. Yeah, you enjoyed.
You were childlike, yeah.
Huh?
So that happened.
You were childlike playing.
Get it back because of the game. Other places.
We gave only with the hope that it all will be returned. That is not message.
They just played in the spirit.
Take it up. Maybe we'll have a game once more. The condition will be it will not be returned back. Then we'll see what happens.
Shall we?
Ask the same questions again. Ask the same thing.
Same things.
Terms and conditions apply, yeah?
That's it. They will give it.
Yeah.
Say, they'll come back with the item tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think Sharon.
Tomorrow, they're not.
So,
Yeah.
You will give one thing.
Sorry. Oh, one thing which I think is if you make it gaming, maybe not get into too much seriousness into it. That might help the situation. Take it as a game.
Life is a game.
No, take a situation as a
Yes,
game.
any
if you have.
situation as a game.
Because we were like, give a pen, otherwise if it was not a game, we were not so enthusiastic. Oh yeah, take this pen, take that pen. Right, so we were kind of gamified. I think some of the concepts are there.
Okay,
Gamify and make it more interesting.
all right, so, okay, then I can change, huh?
We did accept when we didn't have it. We were like, it's okay, we have 3 lives.
Yeah, 3 lives, right?
Swami Punanandaji said that this world is like a stage and we all are just acting.
We had this great friend standing in London. So if imagine if you go to the Olympics and it's a hurdle, you know, and then you just say, oh, take down the hurdles. That's life. You have to learn to jump the hurdles.
That's right. But coming back to the game, maybe rather than playing, we'll do it as a thought experiment. For sometimes, you will get it back. And even if you don't get it back, can you give? I'll ask you, can you give me a hug? You won't get it back. Can you understand me a bit more?
Yeah.
Can you not judge me?
Yeah,
Yes,
so
at
it's
least
sort of
try.
like,
Can you love me more?
sort of a bit like the law of love is to love, not to look. Was for you to be the agent rather than the recipient.
These are more intangible.
Yes, but I'm going a little bit deeper. She hit it on the nail, but we didn't expand on that. Well, of course, being in the present, that's fine. We can only give what we have.
Oh, yes, it's so simple.
Yeah.
What do we give others many a times? Our disappointment, our anger, our misunderstanding. No right or wrong. And none of this is right or wrong. It is for you to think it through. To our loved ones, to that difficult colleague, whatever it is. We also have more understanding, compassion, empathy. We have both. What do we give to others? That goes with that. It's a story. Native American story, Cherokee Indians story. I'll just make it quick. You would have read this or heard this, saying that every one of us have 2 wolves within us. And the 2 wolves are always fighting. And the 2 wolves represent these 2 aspects. All healing emotions or afflictive emotions. We have both. It's impossible to have just one type. We have both.
Is there a duality only on that or one emotions?
Even their duality is what Vivekananda says is we are moving from lower truth to higher truth.
Okay.
That is the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yes, anger, less of love, less of trust. Each afflictive emotion, can you see that opposite? I have less of this, that is why. I have less of mudita, that is why I feel jealous. I have less of mudita, that's why I'm envious. So when we have those 2 wolves with these 2 characters, they're always fighting. Whichever wolf we feed more is the wolf that wins. So we can only give what we have. We have both. Can we start practicing, irrespective of how difficult that person is? Either the colleague, manipulative, difficult colleague, abusive person, alcoholic, addictive, does not matter. Can we keep giving what will help us and what will help the other person too? Ultimately, that whole interpersonal relationship we can just understand through that game. We can only give what we have. We have both. And we need to train ourselves to be giving what will help us to evolve and what will eventually help the other person also to evolve. That leaves, I always talk about 3 aspects of practical Vedanta, as Swami Vivekananda says that. One is very simple, we know. We're all divine beings going through human experience, right? The second part is the goal and purpose of our life is to manifest this divinity that is already within us. This also we have heard. The third point is the goal and purpose of our life is also help manifest this divinity in others. That is when, irrespective of outside circumstances, other challenging people around us, if we keep giving what is going to help us evolve and what is going to help the other evolve, they will definitely, we will be able to see the change in the person and in the circumstances too. Absolutely. If we have not seen the change, that means we have to go deeper, that's all. It's not about the external circumstance or the people. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So all we need to do is to keep focusing on ourselves. The solution is within. It is bound to happen.
There's a question from the Zoom viewer, one of the Rishi Bhai. Can you tell us the key points just so we can remember the whole workshop?
Yes, there you go. That's what I'm concluding right now, the next few slides. We cannot give what we don't have, like that 1,000 euro, right? In a conflict between the heart and the brain, as he says, follow your heart. Relationship credo. Do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? At the end of the day, you don't have to prove to your spouse that I was right. Let it go. Then there is no need to forgive. Just letting go is enough. Another relationship credo, choose being kind over being right. And you will be right every time. We started off with this, we're ending. The happiness of our life depends on the quality of our relationships. And finally, my favorite quote, how simply Swami Ranganathanandaji puts it. He says, are you growing spiritually? Can you love others? Can you feel oneness with others? Have you peace within yourself? And do you radiate it around you? That is called spiritual growth, which is stimulated by meditation inwardly and by work done in a spirit of service. Science of service, in a spirit of service outwardly. ultimately that spiritual growth and our interpersonal relationships are so intertwined. All we need to do is to focus on our relationships. We will grow spiritually. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Amma. And that was, I was thinking that you have told so much. What will you tell us tomorrow? So I'm being very curious now. Thank you once again.
Thank you.